All right, we're good to go. We are good to go. So tonight, what we would like to do is show you guys a bit of a Thermomix basics. So if you have recently got yourself a Thermomix, we think it's so important, and probably our most passion and love as consultants goes into everything that happens after you get a Thermomix. Obviously, selling one is really exciting. We love to see new people getting Thermomixes, but what we all love the most is everything that happens after that. We love to see how your entire life gets changed, and all of a sudden you are whipping up meals and enjoying the Thermomix, and your total family and household is different. So that is everything that we love. And we love to support you through that journey initially for your delivery, and as you learn those basics, and then right throughout. And you'll see that we do this both online via Zooms. We do these in cooking classes, and you're going to see more and more of these around the Mid-North Coast in the next couple of months. But then also we do this in a bit more of a personal setting in demonstrations or cooking experiences. Again, we can do these on Zoom, we can do them in person. That's usually when it's just yourself and a couple of friends. We get to do a bit more specific around what you want to learn about. But it's something that we're really passionate about. So what we wanted to do tonight was give you guys a bit of a crash course in a few things that we love to make in our Thermomix. So if you are new to Thermomix, these might be some really good tips just to help you with the flow of your cooking and the ease of your cooking. But then also give you some inspiration on things that you might like to try. And if you haven't got a Thermomix yet, this might give you a really good idea of what they can do and how it might fit into your life. Now, the best information we can give you is when you ask questions. So please, we can all talk. We're all on here because we love to talk. But we will talk about all sorts of different things. So please ask questions, and then we can give you information that's relevant to what you guys want to know. Otherwise, you will listen to us waffle on for the next hour about all sorts of different things, and might not be things that you guys want to know about. So the benefit of being on with us and not just watching a recording is that you can ask your questions, and we can make it a bit more relevant to you guys that are here. So please use the chat box, come off mute, and yeah, ask your questions so we can give you the relevant information. Now, we're going to throw over to Tash, and Tash is going to cook our first dish. While it's going, we're going to jump back to me, and we're going to show a bit of a video. I've put a quick dish together today, and then we're going to do a bit more live cooking again. So you're going to get a bit of a mix of both. If you get confused at all, or you're not sure what's going on, please just ask. We are all here to help you. So I'm going to pop Natasha up on our big screen. And when you are ready, what are you cooking?
Awesome. Thanks, Jo. So we're going to cook the Chinese style chicken. I say we because I've got Jack here who's going to help as well. He's in the sidelines. So I know it's not super easy to see the screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my screen around, and I'm going to get Jack to hold it a bit closer so you can see a bit closer. Hopefully my sound is okay. Just let me know if it's not. So this is a recipe we're going to use. It's on Cookie Do. We're going to use it as guided cooking. So you can see here the recipe comes up, got all the ingredients down this side, the steps on this side. So we can have a bit of a look through if we need to. And when we're ready, I'm just going to hit start cooking. Now this takes us through step-by-step guided cooking. So the first few steps, put in, and I've already done this just to save time, put in the rice basket, which is this one here. If I hit next, it's going to ask us to weigh our rice in, which I've already done. Then I've rinsed the rice. I've got a litre of water in there ready to go. Now you'll notice here that the scales come up as 0, so you can weigh your water in. Then I'm going to pop just hold that up a little bit, buddy. Pop my basket in there with the rice. I'm going to put my lid on. And then this is the Varoma for those of you that don't have a Thermomix. So this is like a steamer that steams food on top. Now, the next few steps just goes through weighing out. So it's got half a brown onion, a carrot, 1 red capsicum, 150 grams of broccoli. Now, if you have a look in there, you'll notice there's no onion because my family won't eat it like that. It's green capsicum, not red, because I don't have any other. and I just put a little bit more carrot in there. So even though it is guided cooking, we don't have to stick exactly to what it says. So when I hit next, Jacko, can you read back down here, buddy? You'll see it's already preset 10 minutes. It's telling us that it's going to go to Varoma temperature, which is going to boil this water down the bottom and cook our rice, and the steam's going to come through these little holes up here, and it's going to steam our veggies at the same time. And it's telling us to turn speed selector to speed 4. So there's a little bit of a darker green line around here. I'm just going to turn that knob to speed 4, and that's it. That's set for 10 minutes. So just think of all the things you can do in 10 minutes. Oh, sorry. Clearly my recording skills aren't super great. Let's turn that back around there. Think of all the things that you can do in 10 minutes while this is on cooking. Now, for me, as a busy mum with kids and a farm and work and life and everything else, this is just awesome. Hands-free cooking, I can go and do a million other things. So instead of me talking for the next 9.5 minutes while this is cooking, we're going to jump back over to Jo, and Jo is going to take us through the next recipe. Oh, you're on mute, Jo.
That's why you can't hear me. All right, I have a similar recipe that I make, just making sure I'm ready to share. I have a similar recipe that I make for my family lots, and it is called chunky bolognese. So it's very much just a standard spaghetti bolognese that you make in your Thermomix, but it is so super easy. If you have recently got a Thermomix, I really suggest that you jump in and make this. It will be absolutely, it is fantastic. Now, if you can't hear this, please let me know. I can't see the chat while I am sharing, so please yell out if you can't hear what we are doing. All right. I'm making a chunky bolognese. This is like a normal spaghetti bolognese, but we're going to make it in the Thermomix. So this is a recipe here on Cookie Do, and I want to make this a little bit bigger. So this currently serves 4 people. I can make this serve 6, or I can make it serve 8. This recipe has been pre-scaled, so if I make this bigger, it will adjust all of the steps and quantities for me. So I'm now using a whole kilo of beef mince as opposed to only 500 grams. So you can scale this up or down depending, and a lot of recipes have been scaled on Cookie Do. So 1 brown onion going in. I'm going to throw that in, and 2 garlic cloves. Throw those in. Our lid goes on top, and we give this a super quick chop. This is one of the quickest preps you will ever do. Something like spaghetti bolognese is such a staple family meal, but to be able to do it in the Thermomix just blows your mind. So there's our onion and garlic, 3 seconds, all done. And anyone can do this. Young kids can do this. Husbands that don't know how to cook. So easy. 25 grams of olive oil. So again, if you're a confident cook, put in as much as you would usually put in a fry pan. If you're not, just follow the instructions. Lid on top. No measuring cup in. And we're going to saute for 4 minutes. And this will just keep on slowly stirring it around so that nothing burns on the bottom and it all gets cooked through perfectly. Onion and garlic finished sauteing and beautiful. Now, our next step is to add in our tomato and all of our beautiful ingredients. But at this very stage, I like to add in some veggies. So when I prep my veggies, I get a veggie order through the week. The old veggies that I want to use up or prep for the week, I prep them and throw them in a container. So when it comes to making this meal, I've already got my veggies prepped and ready to go. It's a really good hack for those busy times when you just have your veggies, or even your meat, perhaps your chicken already cubed, your veggies already chopped. It makes those meal times so quick and easy. So I do it as a way to reduce my waste, but also make my prep times a bit easier. So I'm just going to throw these in. Now, if you wanted to, you could actually edit this recipe to have this step in it. You can do that via the created recipes, and it would say here, add in the veggies, weigh them in, chop them up. But I'm just doing it manually because I've made this a ton of times. So again, just going to give them a chop. Now that was about 4 seconds. As you get used to your Thermomix, you learn to cook a lot with your ears because you're not necessarily seeing what's going on. And you learn what it sounds like when it's chopped and when it isn't and whatnot. But 3 or 4 seconds there, and it's just basically grated everything up. I can remember as a kid, the spaghetti bolognese was something we made a lot, and my mum would be in the kitchen grating all the vegetables up. Certainly wasn't 2 steps and done like it is in the Thermomix. So now we add in our tomato passata. So 1 click, I'm out of the recipe. 1 click, I'm right back in where I was up to. This is 820 grams of passata. I'm just using 2 400-gram tins of canned tomatoes. All right, in now we have tomato paste, water, Worcestershire sauce, meat stock, oregano, basil, and cinnamon. I'm leaving the chili out, and a tiny bit of pepper. So that's our sauce ingredients in the bowl. I could have put them in each one, but I just prepped them while I was waiting for my garlic and onion to saute off, because that is how you cook in a Thermomix. So easy. Now, because I have upsized this recipe, we're not cooking our meat in the steaming basket. Now, when it comes to cooking meat in your Thermomix, if I was to cook this in the bowl and this was to turn for the whole half an hour, my meat would be very broken up, and it would be more like meat pie consistency rather than a chunky spaghetti bolognese. So when we want a chunky bolognese, we cook it either in the steaming basket so that the meat stays together, or in the Varoma, in this case, where we want to do a bigger amount. So here's my Varoma, and here is my mince. So Varoma on top. This actually tells me to weigh in my beef. I've obviously got it in there already. Put on my lid, and we're cooking. 16 minutes, this is gonna cook through, and then I'm gonna give it a mix. So I'm gonna stir this mince and make sure it's all broken up. Then it will cook for another 15 minutes, and then it will be ready to serve, and I will jump back and show you what it looks like. So not the super quickest spaghetti bolognese in terms of time-wise, but it's been 2 steps so far. I am done. I am out of the kitchen now. That's going to cook away. I will come back in 15 minutes time, and this is my mess. I've got no graters. I've got no nothing. I have a plate and a container. That's it. I'm done. This will take me 30 seconds to clean up. Dinner will be finished. I can go and cook my pasta, do what else I need to do, and I will be back in 15 minutes when it dings at me to stir my mince and do the next step. This is our end result. We have our meat, steamed meat, and I've mixed it in with the sauce. You can see it's still a little bit chunky with veggies, because I had mine chopped up nice and thick, but it is a beautiful bolognese sauce ready for some pasta to be added and have it for dinner. What did you guys think? Now, can the Varoma and the bowl go in the dishwasher? I'm guessing that yes, they can. Thank you, Beck, for jumping in there. Yes, they absolutely can. Anything that comes with your Thermomix, so Varoma, bowl, all those bits and pieces, spatula, blades, everything can go straight through the dishwasher, just not the base unit of the Thermomix that plugs into the wall. Everything else, yeah, not that white part. Don't put that in. But everything else can definitely go through the dishwasher. So super, super easy. We are not going to probably look at this much tonight, but there is also a free clean mode. We might be able to circle back to that. But I'm guessing, Tash, that you're up to the next stage. Yeah.
Yeah, nearly. It's got 40 seconds to go. And I just saw Jess had a question. Oops, it's disappeared. Come back. Fussy kids who don't like chunks, is it simple to grate the veggies? Yes, absolutely, Jess. So the Thermomix goes from speed 1 through to speed 10. Speed 10 is like grinding raw sugar down to icing sugar, which we will be doing later when I make custard. And so you can just choose the speed and the duration for the consistency of your veggies. So what Joe had there, I'm guessing, was maybe about a speed 4 or 5 for maybe 2 or 3 seconds. So you would just do it, you know, for a little bit longer. And when you get a Thermomix, it is like Joe kind of said about cooking with sound, more like listening to where things are up to. And it's the same with chopping things. It's a bit of a get used to it, I suppose. Is that what you'd say, Joe?
Yeah, but there's sort of two ways to do it. Number one, there is a chop function built into the TM6.
Yes, good
So
point.
you can actually open up a tile in there and it will literally have like everything, like veggies, chocolates, nuts, all sorts of things. And you just say, I want to grate chocolate and I want to grate 200 grams, and it'll tell you exactly what speed, how many seconds for that consistency. So that's a really good guide to get you started. But the other thing is, a little bit of playing with it. So to give you an example, because I'm not physically here cooking, it's hard to explain it, but say the consistency I just had then in that bolognese, had I pulled that lid off and said, actually, I want these veggies finer, another 2 seconds, and they would have been grated really quite fine. So that's the sort of power that a Thermomix has. And we see this a lot often when we deliver a Thermomix. We make vegetable stock. It's the stock standard thing we do at a delivery. And we see this often is it gives it, I think it's about a 5-second chop where it chops a big bowl full of veggies. And sometimes people go, oh, that's still a bit chunky. And we go, all right, watch this, 2 seconds. And they go, wow, that's grated that up so much more in 2 seconds. And that is just that power of the Thermomix. So making things finer is absolutely not a problem. I usually sort of err on the other side of it and keep it a bit thicker in my experience. The other thing I could have done is at the end, because my meat was separate, I could have actually blended that sauce. You melted a little bit when you carried the cookie and had last night, then. And had a like a completely smooth tomato sauce and stirred the meat through that if I wanted it completely smooth. So a couple of different options.
Awesome. So our Thermomix is finished. So that was a 10-minute cook time. Our next steps to stir the Thermomix, add in the Varoma tray. So this is the Varoma dish. This is the tray. So you've got 2 layers of cooking in your Varoma and then the lid, and add in some snow peas. But I don't have any snow peas, so I'm not going to worry about adding in snow peas because I don't have any. I'm just going to hit next, and then it's just going to cook for another 5 minutes. So we've stirred our veggies. Really importantly, when you're cooking with the Varoma, is you want to make sure that the steam is being distributed evenly, I suppose, in your Varoma. So while the Varoma is cooking for the next 5 minutes, put some questions in the box if you've got any, and we can answer them. But a couple of things with the Varoma. So at the moment, you can see that we're steaming veggies. Some other things you can do in there, you can steam a whole chook. You can steam like cakes and things like that, little what do they call, Jack, that we make? Like little date puddings. That's the word I was thinking of, puddings. So anything in here can be steamed. You can do a whole silver side. There's lots of things you can do. And like I showed you with the tray, you've got those 2 layers. So you can have 2 layers of veggies, or you could be doing a meat and veggies or something like that. Cooking your rice as well. So again, this is one thing that I really love about the Thermomix is that, you know, in one machine, I've got rice and veggies, and then you'll see in a minute, once this is done and we cook our chicken, it's literally all done in the one machine, and everything's super contained and lots of hand-free cooking time. That was 10 minutes. This is another 5 minutes. And lots of time to go and do other things. All right. Just to clarify, when you're making, if you wanted to blend. Yeah, awesome question, Lindell. So like I was saying, with the guided cooking, it is just guided cooking, and you can absolutely override that. So I think, I'm pretty sure in that chunky bolognese recipe, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no veggies added into that, or maybe there is, but like I know Joe always changes that recipe. So to override it, it's just as simple as doing it manually. So if that step is already there, you would just, like if it was already set for, you know, speed 4, say for 2 seconds, but you wanted it speed 6 for 5 seconds, you literally just manually override it. And when the machine stops, I can show you. It's obviously a bit hard at the moment. The other option is that if you want to use the chop function, you can press home, jump out of the recipe, go back to the home screen, which has got all your functions, and then you can jump into your chop recipe, your chop mode there. Hopefully that makes sense. I know it's kind of hard to explain when you can't see it at the moment. Did you have anything else to add to that, Joe?
Not really. I think, yeah, it's very, very easy. So I did mention sort of very briefly in that video, but obviously not with a chance to sort of elaborate. If, like, when it comes to cookie dough recipes, yeah, you can just follow them step by step, exactly how they are, exact ingredients, exact amounts of quantities and everything, or you can adjust them. And you can adjust them and do that yourself, which is what I did there. I just said, I want to add veggies in. I'm going to throw them in now. I am going to press home and I'm going to chop them myself manually. The other thing I could do is actually edit that recipe and add that in as a step. So depending on, how comfortable you are and how you want it, depends on what you want to do. If you want to just be able to press next, 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 and have everything on the screen, then actually editing your recipes is the best way to go. If you are happy to do a little bit of both, then it is it. One click, press home, turn your dial around, press home, and you're back in. Now, just to give you an example, Tasha's cooking right now. When she's saying manually override, right now she can tap on any of those 3 circles on the screen and adjust that time or temperature or speed. So it is not hard to do. It really is. Guided cooking just means that it presets it on the screen so that you don't have to manually adjust each one, but you can then just tap on them and adjust them from there. So it's really, really, really easy. They are very much just there as a guide. And the other thing that we probably won't see much of tonight is manual cooking. So this is a whole other world of Thermomix where we don't necessarily follow a recipe on the screen. We just jump in and cook with it like an extra pair of hands in the kitchen. So still using it to chop, cook and stir, but just doing that all manually where you're setting those dials yourself and following your own steps. So sort of a different way of cooking. And if you want to discover that a little bit more, please chat with whoever invited you on tonight and we can have a look at the best way to show you that. But that is a whole other world. So this guided cooking is just one feature that the Thermomix has, and certainly not something you have to follow all the time.
Yeah, I was just going to add on to that. Like, this is a perfect example that it's had a 15-minute cook time for the veggies. And quite often a lot of these recipes, sometimes you go, oh, the veggies are, everybody likes their veggies steamed differently. Some people like them a bit on the crunchier side or, the opposite. So this is the perfect example. If I was to lift this up, hopefully you can see that steam coming off there. And I go, oh, actually, they're not quite cooked. I want them to cook a little bit longer. It's literally just a matter of going back to that step. So I had just jumped forward and pressed next, just going back to that step. Again, it's set for 5 minutes of aroma and speed 4. But if I think, God, it only needs another 2 minutes, it's just a matter of tapping that, turning that down to 2 minutes. I know you can't see that super well, and then turning it to speed 4. And it's as simple as that. So the next few steps, do you want to turn it around, Jacko? Hang on, get my little assistant boy here. There we go, hold it here. So as you can see here, I'm just going to hit next. So it says place veggies into a bowl, which, I don't know about you, but I hate washing up. I don't have a dishwasher. So I'm just going to leave them in the Varoma. They're going to be okay sitting over there. I'm going to get my rice out. Do you want to hold it up so we can see the rice? So there's our rice cooked. Now, the really cool thing about Thermomix is how everything kind of fits and works together. So this little bit here on the spatula fits into the rice basket, if I can turn it around like that, and then we can lift that up. So I'm just going to pop my rice in my Varoma. with the veggies just to sit there for a minute. We're going to come back over here next. We're going to take that liquid out and tip out. So our bowl's back to fresh again. Okay, I'm going to add in 20 grams of oil. Do you want to, you're kind of jumping around a bit there, buddy. I'll do this. Do you want to do that and I'll hold it? Okay, let's swap. I'll get my little sous chef on. So 20 grams of olive oil, just tearing the scales off. And as Jack pours that in, the scales will come up. So once we get to 20, olive oil is always really slow to pour in. That'll do. Perfect. Okay, hit next. Now I've got my chicken already cut up, ready to go. So that should be, yeah, all of it. That should be about 300 grams. Perfect. It's a little bit over. That's okay. Now we're going to pop our lid back on and then we're going to add this one. Lid first. This one is called a splash guard and it sits on top of the lid. And hit done. And again, we've got 5 minutes on high heat. So turn that back around. Jo, you're probably better to explain how high heat works, but you can hear the blades have stopped turning. So high heat is a really cool function. Jo knows the ins and outs of it a little bit more than me, so I'll let her speak in a second. But basically it's acting like a fry pan where it turns the blades for a little bit and then it stops and it lets it cook. So you can hear, hopefully you can hear it's starting to sizzle. So that's the oil sizzling. In a minute, the blades will turn and flip everything over again a little bit more. But Jo, I'll let you jump in. That's the 4-minute cook time we've still got there. So I'll let you jump in and talk a little bit more about a high heat function.
Yeah, of course. So prior to the TM6, the TM6 was launched about 5 years ago now. Prior to that, Thermomix didn't have a way to actually brown or saute anything off. And it was always a little bit of a downfall of Thermomix that, we can't brown things. You can't sizzle or caramelize. So when they brought out the TM6, they knew they couldn't do this with the 5. It couldn't withstand a higher heat. They couldn't stop the blades. They said this next model needs to be able to be the next level up. So what they've done with the TM6 is made the bowl slightly out of a stronger steel, I suppose you call it, so that it can withstand a bit of a higher heat. It can go right up to 160. So really, really, really hot. And the ability to stop that blade. So these high heat steps have been so finely tuned that it will tell you exactly how much onion, for instance, to pop into here, how much, how big to cut it, how much oil to put in, so that as it starts to, and within about 30 seconds, you hear this start to sizzle. It is so quick that it gets to that temperature. It starts to sizzle that onion like a barbecue does, and then it turns the blade and it flips all the onion around, and then it stops and sizzles again. Flips all the onion around, stops and sizzles. So what you're left with after the 4 minutes is these perfectly sizzled onions, just like you were standing there at a barbecue or in a fry pan, flipping them the whole time, making sure that they didn't burn. So what we find is when your food, particularly your onions and meat and those sorts of those types of food, when they hit that really high temperature range, they don't necessarily need to be char grilled brown looking. They just need to hit that high temperature to release those flavors. So if you were to have done this onion at a lower heat and then do this onion here at this higher heat, the flavor will be a lot different. Even though these onions might not look quite as char grilled as they would be had they been done, on a barbecue, if that makes sense. And there is certainly recipes in the Thermomix for, say, barbecued onion relish and things like that, where they will literally look like they have been barbecued. It is so cool that a Thermomix can do that, but very, very awesome. So yeah, there is a whole range of high heat recipes, things from like high heat veggies, for instance. You can type that into Cookie Doo and you will get everything from, like browning off zucchini or mushrooms to go with your eggs in the morning, and all sorts of different things. Just, again, taking away that you needing to stand there at the fry pan and cook your mushrooms off throw them in the Thermomix, let it do it for you. Or chicken cubes, let it just cook off, brown some chicken cubes for you while you cut up a salad or do whatever you want to do. So there are little components like that, and then there are bigger recipes like this one, or perhaps senchoy bao, where it browns off the mince and then browns off the next layer and browns off the next layer, so that at the end of the dish you have this huge complex flavor layering in there, from that high heat right throughout the dish. So it is pretty cool. Would it work for bacon? Yes, again, depending on the recipe and exactly where it's added in. But yeah, obviously bacon, a bit like steak, for instance, you're not going to be able to barbecue a steak in a Thermomix, and you're not going to be able to cook a whole big rasher of bacon in there like you would in a fry pan. But certainly, depending on the recipes for things like, chopping your like smaller pieces of bacon, I'll often do, I think it's bacon and chicken cubes, where you throw your chicken cubes and bacon in there, and it browns them all off for you. So yeah, certainly can be done. But yeah, it's got to be able to fit in that bowl. It's not a massive surface, so it's smaller quantities, but certainly ticks the box there for that flavour being released.
You're missing the other really important thing that you can do with high heat, Jo, which was the first thing that I done when I bought my TM6, is honeycomb. So yeah, you can make honeycomb in your Thermomix, which is just sugar, golden syrup and honey and water. I think that's all. And bicarb, that's the magic ingredient. And then coat it in chocolate, and you've got homemade crunchies, which my kids think are pretty awesome. And they definitely taste better than bought ones. And yeah, you can only do that on the high heat sugar stages in the TM6. So that's a pretty cool thing to do.
And that is all of those. There is honeycomb is one of many, but caramel sauces, toffees, all those sorts of things that usually would require a sugar thermometer in a saucepan on a stove. Really dangerous, but also very, very precise. So a few degrees over or under is the difference between it tasting burnt or it not setting. The Thermomix has that exact precision to the degree where it turns out perfect every time. So yeah, high heat is quite a complex thing with the Thermomix, but certainly worth having a bit of a chat about.
So this is our chicken that's finished. So the next step says to get it out with tongs and pop it into a bowl. I'm putting it into our thermo servers here. So far, everything that I've used tonight comes with the purchase of your TM6. The only thing that doesn't that I've used is this thermo server. But if you are a new customer or thinking about getting one, these are host rewards. So when you host a demo, we can talk about how you can get a thermo server. So then it says to retain any cooking juices in the bowl and just give the bowl a really good scrape. So you would have noticed there when I put my bowl back on, see how the lights turn green? Okay. And then it turns red. That's because it's over 60 degrees. Okay. Then our next step, we're going to add in that lid on there. We're going to add in some ginger. Yep, you can put that in. Yeah, so put that in and then hit next. So we've got 10 grams of ginger and meant to be 2 garlic cloves, but I'm lazy and buy chopped minced garlic. So I've just added a little bit of that in. Put the lid on. Now we're going to put our measuring cup back in. Hit next, Jacko. Now this is going to chop for 8 seconds. Yeah, I'm going to chop. All right, and then we're going to scrape down with the spatula. Whoa, turn your lid upside down. I forgot that it had juices. So, doesn't look very appetizing, but it smells amazing. That is our fresh ginger, our garlic, and the juices from the chicken. It smells like senchoy bao. Jack said it smells like senchoy bao. All right, scraped it all down, buddy. Done. Okay, so just wipe that off from your mess you made. You can do this. So tear it off.
How much?
90 grams. So 90 grams of soy sauce or tamari.
Probably don't even have 90.
Keep going. I'll probably nearly be all of that. So keep going. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Probably, yeah. That'll be close enough. Yeah, it's a little bit over. That's okay. All right, and some honey. So you'll notice at each step when we hit next, it takes the scales back to back to 0.
But if it doesn't, you can just stay.
Jack,
Lyndall, just to answer you there while Tasha's putting this in, yes, you can adjust the sounds that the TM6 makes. So you can define how loud it is, but also what noises it's playing you as well. So there is in the settings, yeah, and the duration. So for how long it plays for. So that is absolutely all adjustable.
Right.
That's that one. Rice wine vinegar. Yeah, there was nothing worse when I had the older model before I got this one, and my babies were a lot younger then, and I remember being stuck on the couch breastfeeding, and I could hear the Thermomix going off telling me that it was finished, and I couldn't slow down. I couldn't get up and turn it off. So the TM6 capability to stop that for you to have it preset is awesome. A little bit more. Yeah, perfect. As you can see, someone gets a bit excited when he gets it spot on. Okay, 3 teaspoons of corn flour, which about that. Okay, hit next.
We're almost done.
Oh my goodness, what a mess you've made.
You made it.
Okay, so I'm going to pop our lid back on.
With the basket.
And that's going to cook for 2 minutes. And that's our sauce that's cooking. Now, I made this a couple of weeks ago, and we're a family of 6, so you might be thinking, if you've got a large family as well, you might be thinking 300 grams of chicken doesn't sound like a lot. When I make this, I just double the chicken, and I just go back a step and cook that second, like I cook it in 2 batches. So cook the first batch of chicken, put it in the thermoserver, go back the step, add in my next 300 grams of chicken, cook it again, set it aside in the thermoserver. So little things like that you can absolutely do on the high heat. I certainly wouldn't be doubling your chicken. As Joe was saying before, especially with high heat, there isn't a huge surface area in the Thermomix. So to be cooking, and that would, I don't even think it would do it, hey Joe, like with the high heat, it is very precise that if you are too far out of its range or specs, it'll tell you, and it won't do it essentially. There's other recipes that you can double the meat and just kind of double the time, and it's no worries, but certainly with the high heat you need to be a little bit more careful. But there's nothing wrong with doing that step, like I said, and then just pressing back and doing that step again.
Smells good.
Smells good. Jack said it smells good. This was a new recipe that came out, I don't know, maybe about a year or so ago, and it has become an absolute favourite in our household. As you can see, there's been very little input, which is like most dinner recipes, I would say, on the Thermomix. And so it just means that, you know, you're not having to stand by the stove, you know, stirring things or things like that. It just means that I've got so much more time to go and do other things.
Yeah, why do you think
You're right there, mate. Oh, it's something that Jack wanted me to show you before he pointed out. Let me turn this around again. So a really good thing when you're cooking and you're like, oh, I wonder what my next step is. What ingredients do I need to get out? That won't do it because we're not in. But when it's cooking, let's just turn that back on for a second. You've got this preview button up here. So you can hit that and then you can go through your next few steps, sorry. And then to go back in, you just, yeah, Jack already done it. You just press that button to go back in, that one. And that takes you back to the bookmarked spot in the recipe where you are. I'm just going to stop that. So I'm just going to hit my button to stop and hit next. I'll flip you back around and put you over here. So this is our sauce.
It's very chunky.
It's not chunky. It's chunky. Cool. It's thick. It's not chunky. Thick. So that's our sauce. I'm going to pour it in with our chicken. Chicken's in here. I'm going to pour that in there. Thank you. Oh, dude.
And
And then we've got our complete meal. We've got our chicken with our sauce, and then we've got our steamed veggies and rice. So
This one
I'm just-
here, sorry, I'll just really quickly, Tash, just jump in. This one here is such a good recipe to serve up for a big family because it does make a ton. But also, if you are not such a big family, you can really easily prep this for the week. So, say for instance, for dinners for yourself, or if there's two of you, or lunches. And you can keep these all separate. So you could keep your rice separate, your veggies separate, your chicken and your sauce separate, and then just prep them as you go each day, or mix up containers and have them. But it is a regular in my house for this same reason. Either we have it for dinner, or we have it for dinner and I pack some for lunches. Sometimes I just do this as a prep. It makes 6. That's my lunches for the week done. And I have these beautiful containers of chicken teriyaki stir fry. So it is a really versatile dish. And something you've seen a bit of Thermomix before. You might have seen baby food consistency. Often people say that's all the Thermomix can do is puree. So this, I think, is a really good example of just a nice big hearty stir fry, and how the Thermomix can help with that.
Absolutely. And like you said, Jo, it is, like I mentioned, it has absolutely become a staple in our house. When I double the chicken, and like I was saying before with the veggies, you can just, add in whatever you want, make it more, make it less if there's less of you. But when I've doubled the chicken, this recipe feeds us all for dinner, and there's leftovers enough for probably 2 of us for lunch the next day. So that's essentially feeding 8. So I think that's pretty good. So our last few steps, pour the chicken in, then it just says to sprinkle with sesame seeds and garnish before serving. We've all had dinner tonight, so I'm going to pop that in the fridge for lunches tomorrow or dinner tomorrow night. Not sure yet. And then finish, that's it. That's our recipe, and we're back to our home screen. So Jack's going to make custard. He's just told me he wants to make custard. I've got everything set out, but he's going to make it. So to find my recipe, I'm just going to jump into my screen here and go to recently cooked, because this is one that we make all the time. So it's always on my recently cooked. So again, my recipe comes up, our ingredients are down this side, steps down the other side. We can have a bit of a look there, and just hit start cooking when we're ready to go. So the first step is 1 lemon zest only. I don't have any lemons, I only had oranges. So I've got some orange zest in there. And then the next step is some sugar, which Jack's going to chuck that in. So that's raw sugar we're using, and orange zest. Now, the step that you probably missed just really quickly while Jo was talking before is this is my fresh new clean bowl. I wasn't a wizard and able to wash my other bowl super quickly, but this is the beauty of having 2 bowls, is that my dinner is still sitting. Actually, no, sorry, it's not. We did get it out, but my bowl is dirty sitting over there, and I can jump straight in and make another recipe. So add your lid on.
Turn it.
I've got another assistant.
Wait, yes.
So this is 20 seconds, and we're turning it up to speed 9, and this is going to mill our raw sugar and our zest. So that's our sugar and orange zest, and it smells very orangey.
It's going to taste delicious.
It's what?
It tastes delicious.
It's going to taste delicious. So I've just given that a bit of a scrape. Hit the next button there, buddy. We're going to add 30 grams of corn flour.
Is this probably 30?
No, you'll have to measure it out. So just scoop it in there till you get to 30. I might even need more. You were right. Bit more. Okay, hit next.
Oh.
You want to get it perfect. Perfect enough. Hit next. 2 eggs, they're already cracked. Now, normally if I'm cooking, I don't have everything prepped. Obviously, just time-wise tonight, trying to make things a bit quicker for you guys so you're not all sitting there awkwardly watching me or Jack. But the beauty of cooking with the Thermomix too is you just, pouring things in with the scales and you're not having to use cups or measurements all the time, which are just extra things that get dirty. So 500 grams of milk. Whoops, a little bit extra. That's okay. Hit next. No. Now, this mode is the thicken mode. So we're just going to turn it on to start. It's going to do its thing. It's going to assess what ingredients are in there, and then it's going to start thickening up. Now, I did see there was a couple of questions I'll just have a look at.
Yeah, we have one there, Tash, from Sophie that you might like to answer, and this is, can it peel vegetables? Can it cut vegetables? What have we got, Tash? How can we do those things?
Yeah, so we can absolutely do those things with the cutter, which is a separate thing to the base Thermomix, and I'll just grab mine quickly. So this is the cutter. This is the very cool addition to the Thermomix that came out maybe a couple of years ago, Joe. I can't quite remember. Where's my other bit, Jack?
About 18 months.
There we go, 18 months. So, you've got the cutter, Sophie. Awesome. So for those of you that don't have the cutter, this bit goes in your machine when your bowl is empty and clean and dry and sits on top of your blade. And then this bowl bit goes on top of that. So imagine this is on your bowl. And then you've got two sides. So this is there's a slice and a grate side. And there's two different thicknesses, buddy. So if it goes one way, it is thicker, and then the other way, it's a bit thinner. So same with the grating. You can see a thicker or a thinner grate. So that fits on top of there. Then this bit goes on top. So you don't have your lid on your Thermomix, and then you feed your foods into there. So you can do hard cheeses, vegetables,
onion.
What else? Chocolate, onion. It's awesome if you're doing like a potato bake, because you can do your potatoes, then grate your cheese, things like that. So yeah, this is the best thing for cutting and slicing with your Thermomix. Without that, you've still got the option of, somewhat grating in your finely chopping in your Thermomix. Like we were using, like Joe done, and like we've kind of talked about. I did see there was another question there. Does the spare bowl come with a spare lid? Yes, absolutely. So the current offer up until the 18th of June is an extra bowl blade lid set, it's called. So let me find my third one somewhere. Where's the other one?
As you can see, this comes in handy when you are cooking to be able to match like Tash. I've got 3 currently sitting that got washed up tonight for the same thing. Mine usually starts in the morning. I put porridge in one, and then I boil water in another, and then the kids have a milkshake in one, and pretty quickly 3 bowls get dirtied early on. But that second bowl is an absolute game changer for things like this. You can pull your bowl out, start your dinner, and say, oh, I want to start a custard right now. I don't have to wash my bowl. I can just click a new one in, start my custard, go and eat dinner, come back, my custard's ready. It really, really levels up what you can do. So the Thermomix comes with everything you need to start Thermomixing. So the Thermomix on its own with no offer would just come with the bowl, the Thermomix, your spatula, your steaming basket, your butterfly, your splash guard, your aroma, so all the things that you need. Now, the second bowl offer is fantastic, and it is, I think, personally, and probably the other consultants on here will agree, it's our most popular, sought after, and probably our personally favourite offer. To buy a bowl is just under $400 if you were just to go and buy one. So the fact that you can add it on for $29, but it's also the most popular. I don't think anyone regrets having a second bowl for how good it is to be able to interchange them and all the things that it opens up. But we always advise, like, start off with your Thermomix. A second bowl, if that offer is on, is always going to be valuable. But start with that and then add things as you need them. So yes, there are extra accessories. There is a blade cover peeler, which will also peel your potatoes and carrots and beetroots and things like that. It also sits on top of the blade, so stops your food from going down and around the blades, particularly for like slow cooking and things like that. I recommend don't get that to begin with. Start cooking in your Thermomix first, get the hang of it, and then when you want to start exploring those avenues, then get a blade cover peeler. And the same thing with the cutter. You don't need a cutter to be able to use your Thermomix. It's just adding a food processor attachment to your Thermomix. So start with your Thermomix and then add it on, and then jump onto our mix shop, and you can add so much stuff. The thing with the Thermomix is that it just keeps on getting smarter. In the last 5 years since the TM6 came out, it couldn't do all this stuff. We didn't have a peeler, we didn't have a cutter. It was basic, it didn't have all the modes. So as it has evolved, we've added extra stuff as we've leveled up. We believe there'll even be a spiralizer attachment to come down the track, and who knows what else they will add. But we are all very passionate about the Thermomix itself, and learning to use it and get the most out of it, and then add the extra things on as you go. You certainly don't need to buy a whole big bundle to begin with, because the Thermomix and what it can do in just what you get is amazing. So I can see, Tash, you have your bowl there. Are you wanting to show us something?
Yeah, I was just going to show basically how it comes apart, and just back to Lindell's question earlier about does it go in the dishwasher. So this is the bowl, the blade and the lid, and this is the base. I want to sneeze. Oh gosh, sorry. So the blade just really easily fits, I should say, into the bottom of your bowl, and then this base just locks it in. So that's your bowl and your lid. So when you buy the extra bowl this month, up until the 18th for $29, that's what you're getting. That's the extra bowl, blade and lid. And I think that was all I was going to say. Sorry, I just feel like I totally lost my train of thought. There's a couple more questions there. So it slow cooks. Does that mean casseroles, slow cook, etc., for a couple of hours like a slow cooker? Yes, absolutely. Did you answer that? Yes, it can. Yeah, up to 8 hours. So there are slow cooker recipes on Cookie Do. That again, with guided cooking, just taking you through all of those steps, and yes, you can absolutely leave it for 8 hours. The other thing you can do is yogurt and fermentation mode, which again, it is set for, you know, that extended hours. This has got about 4 minutes to go. I'm not sure if you've noticed, a couple of minutes in, it was going quite slow and it was just kind of cooking, and then it kind of sounded like it took off. And that's the thicken mode really coming into play and really starting to work its magic and do its thing. I don't pretend to know the ins and outs of how the magic happens. I just make it happen, essentially. Jo, did you want to talk more about the thicken mode and what it's actually doing?
Yeah, so our thicken mode, when they developed the TM6, they developed something called sensory cooking, where the Thermomix actually assesses the weights and quantities in the bowl before it decides what it needs to do. So you see this in some of our modes. Now, the modes we haven't actually really seen on the screen today, but this is, again, not just guided cooking, but a whole other way of cooking on the Thermomix, and it's using your modes. So a bit like using different appliances, but it's just all built in, different functions to what the Thermomix can do. When you are following a Cookie Do recipe and it needs to say, for instance, need or use the thickening mode like Tash is doing, it will automatically just pull that in. You don't need to go and find that mode. It's just automatically on your screen like it is for Tash. You just clicks next. But these modes are also a whole separate section of your Thermomix, and you can actually go over there and just pick and choose what you want to do and use them manually. So when it comes to manually, or in this instance, using it in any way, the thickening mode or the pre-clean mode, that's exactly what it does. It's assessing, and also egg boiler mode does the same thing. Assesses the weights and quantities in your bowl, so it has a minute or two of just working it out, and then it will give you, it'll set its time, temperature, and speed and take off and do its thing. It's actually really, really cool. This mode here is one of our favorite modes for our chefs that have Thermomixes. We are seeing the TM6 in so many commercial kitchens these days, and it is things like this thickening mode that are really, really bringing it to life, because they can make all of their really fancy sauces and coulis and all of those creme anglaise and all of those different things, and they tip all their ingredients in this, press thicken, and know that it is going to be perfect. So this thickening mode has two settings if you want to just use it as a mode, and that is to go up to 80 degrees or go up to 100 degrees. So anything that is cream, egg-based, things like custard, we don't ever want it to get to 100 degrees and burn that egg or milk. If you've ever made custard before on the stove, if you start to burn it, it's wrecked. Or if it goes lumpy, it's no good. So the Thermomix takes all of that out of it. It will not let it get that hot. Doesn't matter how long you leave it for. If you come back 4 hours later, the custard will still be perfect. It will be smooth and it won't have burnt. For then things like coulis that need to hit that boiling temperature to actually set, then we use that higher heat range, and it does exactly the same thing. So the thickening mode is really, really cool. Again, it's too much to show you guys in a 1 hour Zoom. And this is why with the Thermomix, we really, really encourage you to have a demonstration or a cooking experience with your consultant so that you can really hash out what are you going to do with it and how is it going to help you. Because like I said, there is just so much that it can do. We haven't really even touched on the pre-clean mode yet, but that is basically where Tash will just pop some water in, a squirt of dishwashing liquid, tell it to clean itself, and it'll ding 5 minutes later. She'll be able to tip it down the sink, and it'll just basically need to rinse out and be done for the night. So a whole other level, and so much other stuff that we haven't covered tonight. So that's certainly my advice is go away with your questions, come back, have a chat to whoever invited you tonight and say, look, I still need to know about this stuff. I want to see this stuff. Or if you still, are curious and you want to know more, have a demonstration, whether it be online if you're not local, or if you're local, get together, have a meal, actually see it, cook in it, taste it, and get a real feel for it, because we want to, it's hard to explain the whole Thermomix when it's just so big and complex, and we want to sort of make it directly to you. So these group Zooms are fantastic to show you a big range of stuff, but certainly advise chat with your consultant one-on-one and really ask the questions and find out the things that are relevant to you and how it might benefit you in your kitchen, because everyone uses it differently. Tash, how does that custard look?
Yeah, it looks pretty good. And I've just popped in a litre of water and a tiny bit of dishwashing liquid. And I'm just going to pop it on a really quick pre-clean. I know that we've got, oh gosh, I don't want scales. Up the top, that one. Oops, sorry, looking at me and Jack. So just really quickly, if you need to jump off, that's fine. Jump off. We know that we've gone over the hour, but just really quickly, this is your home screen with your three main dials there, I suppose. These are all the modes. So as Joe said, we haven't really even gone into any of this tonight, but just super quickly, these are all the modes that are there. Now you'll notice that the thickened mode is here. So that was in the recipe that I was using, making the custard with just then, but you can jump in and use this manually by itself. So quite often if we cook like a roast, say, and then those, those really amazing yummy juices that are in the bottom, we'll chuck it in the Thermomix, add some corn flour in, stick it on thickened mode, and we've got the most amazing gravy at the end of it. What I'm looking for though is this pre-clean one, and you can see here it's got 5 different settings. I'm just going to pop it onto short, and that's going to do its thing and wash my bowl for me. So while that's washing, I'll put you back over here and you can have a look at my custard.
You can even see some.
You can see some of the orange rind in there still as well. So Jack's going to taste test it. Lyndall says that the custard looks fab. I reckon it does. You want to go, Jacko?
No, I want this.
One of my kids' favourite thing to do with this custard now is to put half of it back in the bowl and add a little handful of chocolate chips. Give it a few more seconds and you have this beautiful chocolate custard, and it is even really nice the next day. It's like almost goes like a chocolate yogo in the fridge. So this This custard also gets cooked regularly at our house. And yeah, if it's not getting eaten, we just add a little bit of chocolate to it, and very quickly it gets demolished. So you can certainly do lots of things. If you're wanting to make this dairy free or anything, obviously swap out your milk for alternative milks. Lots and lots of different things that you can do with this basic custard.
The other really good thing to do with this, it actually says in the recipe the sugar like 60 to 100 grams or 80 to 100 grams, and you can absolutely adjust that. So if you make it the first time and go, oh, that's a bit sweet for me, you can just pull back on the sugar. Or if you're like, oh, I need it a bit sweeter, you can put a little bit more in. Like you saw tonight, instead of the lemon, we've done orange rind. Like Joe's just mentioned, Jack just said it's better than lemon. You can, add chocolate in instead. There's multiple different flavors you could do. And that's the beauty of cooking from scratch with a Thermomix, is being able to adjust it to your family's desires and needs. So that's the pre-clean. I'm just going to take this water out. There's a little bit more to do right down the bottom and a little bit up the top here, but pretty well that's pretty clean. So that'll just be a quick scrub and that's done. Certainly a lot cleaner than when we first finished. So that's about all from us tonight. Jack's going for more custard. Thank you so much for everyone for jumping on. We know we've gone a little bit overboard over time. So we appreciate you staying online. And yeah, absolutely go back to your consultant or the person that invited you on tonight with any further questions. Like Joe said, you know, we can run these Zooms for whatever you need. So, you know, if you say, look, I'm really interested in the Varoma, I really want to know more about that, or whatever it might be, just let us know and we can absolutely tailor a Zoom to suit you and what you're after. So yeah, thank you for jumping on. Is there anything else you want to add, Joe, to finish up?
No.